Lateral de la Almudena, Mercado San Miguel, calle Escono, que va a llevar también.
So, at the beginning, this was in February, 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. All this was managed as a chicken farm. At least that's the analogy I found most accurate, right? At the beginning, it was the right who demanded harsher measures from the government, from the left-wing government in Spain. In other countries, it was the left who cried for control, right? It was the people, because fear had just begotten them, and they were they lost their mind mainly, right? So fear brought a totalitarian society, right? I did record a few videos, and that's how this video thing started, because for the first couple of months you couldn't go out. After 15 days that you definitely couldn't go out or something, you couldn't go out, but you could go with a shopping cart to a supermarket, and that was allowed, so as long as it was near your home. And that's the time I have walked the most in Madrid in my life, and I thought of recording it, and the streets were almost completely empty. There's people walking dogs. Strangely, you could take dogs outside, not children but dogs, yeah. So they probably had a healthier time during those 2 months and a half maybe. And yeah, I'd like to center of what happened before the masks, right? Before the masks were in effect, right? Because that was, it was just crazy. And before the vaccines, of course, which was like already the fourth wave, right? I could divide this in 4 waves, right? One was the fear, the absolute fear with the images of the Chinese fallen, right? Then it was, the second wave was the not be in the street thing, the lockdowns. The third was the masks. Like you had to wear a mask that before were forbidden to wear, basically. You had to, people laughed at you if you wore a mask. People feared you also. Then they were forced upon the whole population, right? So one day I was walking past this Jacinto Benavente Square, and I didn't wear any mask. And it was the first day that the compulsory wearing of masks took effect. The obligation, right? So it was here. There was stopped by a couple of policemen in a car. Where is your mask? And the treatment was always authoritarian, right? It was like living in China, right? and it made no sense, right? And people I had worn masks because I had some at home. They were very short on pharmacies and that. And people right here, no? Remember someone like laughing at me like I'm exaggerating. And this same day, I was stopped by police and fined 3 times here. I recorded it. I never had to use it. The fines never arrived after years because all this was declared unconstitutional. All the measures that they took were unconstitutional according to the constitutional court here in Spain. So it was meaningless. But there were so many people who lost everything in this ordeal, right? What I lost was the idea that my rights were guaranteed in any way, right? That they were natural rights, right? Like you are born with the freedom of movement, freedom of speech, and you are not really. I mean, it's just a bigger power, much stronger than you, million times stronger, has conceded you these rights, right? And morality for a time, and this was the most worrying of things, morality was reduced to whatever government says, right? The Republic of Plato, in this discussion about morality, is what the strongest deems just. That's justice. That's the right thing. So that's what it was, right? It was just fear, force, power, total, everybody. And if you don't comply, you become a scapegoat, right? You become a target of the mob. So you see a society of people who are respectful among each other. I see them now. It's nice people. They couldn't say anything to you for wearing a hat, wearing sandals, or wearing whatever, for being however you are. But they fall into mob mentality, and you felt like a Jew, right? Like a scapegoat. So if you were not wearing a mask, you could expect people, not everybody, of course, but I mean, and this is Madrid. This is a very, very open society. But you'll find people who might denounce you. In fact, I was denounced by quite a few people. At one point, I created some signs and went every day when it was allowed to go anywhere to the Congreso de los Diputados, the lower chamber of the Spanish Parliament, deputies chamber, right? Our House of Representatives, or whatever, which is not far from here, just to protest, demanding freedom, a little bit of freedom, and demanding, begging them not to care for us so much, right? Because we could generally take care of ourselves. The scenes that I lived in that time, I couldn't really record them because I didn't have this little gadget, and the ones that I recorded were lost, most of them, unfortunately, because I hadn't thought of uploading them to a YouTube channel. Of course, they could have been censored or something like that, no? if they were too clear, no? Because this totalitarianism was not just in Spain; it extended to all the world. I mean, maybe mainly to the U.S., to the United States. So from there they just censored everything, right? Because it was probably for political reasons, but that's another matter. What we lived is the demise of freedom and the mistrust of anyone sensible would have for society as a whole, right? Because I mean, it doesn't get better than this, probably. The level of mutual respect, and so that can be wiped out with a good dose of fear. Here in Puerta del Sol, this funny thing happened. One day it snowed, The day that snowed, it was so beautiful because it was all covered in white, and just the forces of the law couldn't move. Because you see, they move in cars, right? So it was covered in snow one day, all white. This was April, and maybe it was the end of April when all this was still, the floor was still with ice, and there was a gathering here. I recorded it, but lost it, of people. There was someone with loudspeakers playing this song, ¿A quién le importa lo que yo diga?, by Alaska, 80s music. 80s, it was freedom, it was la movida, it was all that. And it was here, right? ¿A quién le importa lo que yo haga? And people just gathered and started to dance. And on TV, the authorities, they didn't like this, the images of people dancing, and they accused the people who were here, I was one of them, fortunately, to be spreading the disease, which was completely absurd, because the disease had spread even before noticing, probably. And it was years like this. Yeah, but that finished, right? For good? No, I don't think so. There were so many lessons learned, but I'm not sure that how many people learned them. Okay, that's it. Excuse me for my crap English. That's pretty much the best we can do. And see you in another video.